Thank you. We'll start the session in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful and most compassionate. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Zaida. I'm one of the trustees with Safina Muslim Cancer Support Network. We will start the session shortly, but before we do, I just want to go over some housekeeping. The session will be recorded, so if you want to switch off your cameras, feel free to do so. But equally, if you want to leave them on, it'll be lovely to see you as well. This recording will be kept on our YouTube channel, and Amina will share the details of where the YouTube channel is in the chat box. I'm sure you guys will do this, but please do be mindful of diversity of thought and differences of opinion, and just be respectful to each other. If you're not speaking, then please do keep your microphones on mute. There will be an opportunity towards the end to ask questions from our speaker, as well as any questions that you may have for Safina Muslim Cancer Support Network as well. There will be some colleagues who are joining who may not be Muslim, so if you do use any phrases, please do translate those. We'll put some phrases that are commonly used in the chat box, so those who have joined are not Muslim are able to understand what those phrases mean, and Amina will just share those. So before I introduce our guest speaker, I just want to take this opportunity to just talk a little bit about Safina. I do this every event that we have, so apologies if you have heard this before. It is an opportunity just to tell you about what we do in our organisation. Amina, could you just put everyone on mute, please? Thank you. So we launched Safina it's coming up to 3 years. And we are the UK's first nationwide cancer charity that supports Muslims impacted by cancer. And although our services are specifically set up for Muslims, because that's where we identified a gap in services, our services are in fact open to everybody, Muslim, non-Muslim, faith or non-faith. Everybody's welcome. We would never turn anyone away. So at Safina, there's a whole host of things that we do, but if I was to summarize it because of the limited time, I will summarize it into 3 main objectives that we have. Firstly is the befriending support service, and this is provided by our trained volunteers. We currently have over 100 trained befrienders who've all got lived experience, either a personal diagnosis or they've supported a family or friend through a cancer diagnosis, and they provide a befriending support service. They share their experiences with clients and support them through their cancer journey as well. We've recently extended that service to also bereavement support, because sadly, although the statistics on cancer are getting better, sadly people do lose their life to cancer, and where they do, we want to make sure that people are supported in that journey. The other thing that we do is we do a lot of education awareness within the Muslim community about cancer. Before we even set up Safina, we did our own research, and we found that over I think it was over 70 people did not know what the common signs and symptoms were for the top 5 cancers. And if we as a community don't know what those signs are, we're not going to get those early intervention and timely diagnosis. And this research after research, which shows that people from the BAME communities, which would include Muslims, wait on average 6 weeks before they get a diagnosis. Now that can make a difference in the type of treatment, the type of complications people have, but also it can impact on survival rates as well. And we at Safina are really passionate. We want to make a difference in that. We want to educate our community, and we want to break down that taboo and stigma that currently exists within our communities around cancer. The other thing we want to do is to improve the health inequalities that exist. I mentioned earlier that there is research which shows that, you know, people from the BAME background, again, that would include Muslims, they wait on average 6 weeks before they get diagnosis, and also they report a difference in treatment from the NHS than people from white counterparts. And again, that's something we at Safina are really passionate about, and we want to make a difference and improve that. Those are the three main objectives that we have, but everything that we do is underpinned by our culture and our faith within the Muslim communities. And you'll see we on our website and all the resources that we put together, there's lots of information about Islam and illnesses like cancer and the power of dua and what you can read during those difficult times as well. We've also very recently set up a board of scholars, which consists of 4 male scholars and 4 female scholars. And we've got a Q&A service that's provided free of charge on our website. If anyone has any questions relating to cancer or any other illness, doesn't have to be to do with cancer, all you have to do is go onto our website, type in the question, and we will arrange for one of our scholars to answer that for you. This is actually a really opportune time to be having this session because yesterday we launched our first cookery book, which is called Healing Flavors of the Sunnah, and it's recipes based on the prophetic traditions. It's about 80 pages full of recipes, duas and tips for well-being, and it's available free to download on our website. And also it will be available, the hard copy will be available for free, and Armin is going to share in the chat box a form. If you would like a copy of that book, then please just fill that form and we will arrange for that to be sent to you as soon as it comes back from print. So before I introduce my our guest speaker, I just want to say that this is a topic that I am really passionate about. I was diagnosed with cancer 13 years ago, and I knew at that time that when my treatment comes to an end, I really needed to adopt a healthier lifestyle and incorporate exercise into my daily routine. And I just thought, yeah, you know, when my treatment finishes, I'll just pick up a book and I'll read it and I'll be able to know what to do. And I was really amazed at how difficult this area actually was. And when I met our speaker's colleague at an event recently, I grabbed the opportunity of having Nazneen come and speak to us about this topic because it is really important, not just because of cancer, but we as a community are not very active, and there's very simple things that we can do, and hopefully Nazneen is going to share her experiences. And if you go away just thinking about one thing that you can change, then Alhamdulillah, we will have achieved our objective for this session. So on that note, I'm really pleased to introduce our guest speaker, who is Nazneen Wardleby, who is an operations director at Move Against Cancer charity, leading programs that support people living with and beyond cancer to move more. As a cancer patient herself and a Muslim woman from the South Asian background, she's extremely passionate about breaking down stigma and making physical activity support more inclusive. She lives in Birmingham and has 2 boys that I'm sure that keep her on her toes already. Thank you so much, Nazneen, and Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to our session. Over to you.
Walaikum assalam. That is the best intro I've ever had, Zahida. Like, I know some of that I shared, but I didn't expect to have a lovely formal intro to myself. Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to speak with Safina. I feel really honoured, guys, being here. Firstly, because I only learned about this charity this year, and I was diagnosed 3 years ago, and I just kept thinking when I found out about you guys, I wish I'd known about you guys 3 years ago. This is exactly what I needed 3 years ago and didn't get it. And so I love that it does exist, and I'm grateful that I can talk about 2 passions in my life, you know, physical activity and sharing the message around cancer. And I'm sitting here in front of all of you and reiterating what Zahida said, we're in a space where cancer is taboo. We don't talk about it enough. We only talk, if we do, it's some of the sadder stories. We tend not to talk about the positive ones. We tend not to talk about the challenges that we face and how we've overcome those. And so I'm sitting in this space, not only telling you about like cancer, stuff you already know about, but about the importance of movement as well. And you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, how is that going to fit in life? But also I want to reiterate what Zahida said around health inequalities. That's what I am passionate about, and the BAME community is behind in terms of the support we get when we're impacted by cancer. And so I want to make sure that we reach out to you guys and go, this is the secret, this is what we should be doing if we get cancer. So yeah, on to the next slide, if that's okay, Amina. So a little bit about me, just a bit more about me. I was diagnosed with cancer 3 years ago, as I said, in an inner city hospital in Birmingham. Does anybody know Birmingham? The city hospital in Birmingham. They did the best that they could do, but it was very much here's your diagnosis. It's a non-curable cancer. Here's a hug. Now off you go. Now you've all probably had similar experiences, and I left that room, and my first thought was obviously for my children, my 2 boys. My second thought was, I'm looking around this room and everybody in this waiting area is going to have the exact same moment as me. They're going to have the hug and it felt like the hug and the shrug. And it didn't sit right with me. So yeah, I was thinking about myself, but I was also thinking about the fact that this can't be it. This can't be it for me. It can't be it for other people. So I spent a hell of a long time researching. I was on the internet. I was like, there must be stuff that can help me alongside the chemo, the immunotherapy. Being told that something isn't curable shouldn't be the end. And so a lot of research, a lot of work around the evidence of what can support you if you've got cancer. And the thing that kept coming up again and again and again was physical activity. So the increasing of your heart rate, before, during, after cancer impacts your outcomes massively. It helps your mental health, it helps that you get a sense of control back, but also it impacts your outcomes as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Yeah, Zahida was saying, like, I'm lucky that at the moment I get to share something that I'm passionate about within a charity called Move Against Cancer, and they support people impacted by cancer to move more, and they do it through 3 different services, but we'll talk through those. Amina, would you be able to get over to slide 3 for me? I mean, it's been amazing going through this with me and patient. So yes, so I work for Move Against Cancer, and as I said, we support people with cancer to move more, and that's through 3 services we offer. We offer an online one-to-one support program for young people from the age of 13 to 30 who have cancer. And anybody can be referred to that, and it's completely free. And our young people get a gym membership along with a parent or a close friend, and go through a one-to-one bespoke program to support them. There's also 120 support groups across the country just focus on physical activity. Yep, everybody impacted by cancer, but there's a massive focus on physical activity in those. That's why they're attached to some park runs. And so then we also have our resources hub and our community hub. Amina, do you want to go to slide 4 for me, if that's okay? So if we have time afterwards, I'll go into a bit more detail and share some videos with you. But the Movement Hub is a community space and an online space for people to learn about physical activity. And if you do nothing else today, go on and look at the evidence page, and I'll talk to you a bit more about the evidence behind the reasons we should be physically active with cancer. But in your own time, have a look on there and have a look at what's staggeringly coming out this year in the last couple of years that you need to know about. Should we go to slide 5? So again, the last thing about the charity broadly is that we're doing a hell of a lot of the community engagement work, the resources and the hub work. We're working closely in 2 areas in Leicester, 2 areas in Greater Manchester, in Nottingham, and in London at the moment. It's all new work for us. We only started when I started here a couple of years back, but the point was that there is there is this gap in support and these health inequalities that Zahida mentioned, where we're not having the same outcomes as your white middle class female, for example, and that's what we're trying to change here and put a bit of work into making a difference there. And there's a beautiful space of people who will feel exactly the same way, passionate, and it's nice to be part of that here with Zahida and others, so thank you for that. Should we go to the next slide? Oh, and then let's miss the next two, 5K Away video and the Young People's Program video. And then we'll start. So, okay. So we've learned a bit about Move Against Cancer, move that across to one side. But now we're going to talk about the benefits of physical activity. Yes, remember we're in a space where we barely talk about cancer. And I'm here to tell you we need to be talking about cancer and be moving as well. Then we'll talk about some of the ways that you can move more. And I just want to reassure you that you can move more as well, you know, in the safe environment with the right conditions, it is safe to move more. So we'll talk a bit about that too. Has anybody got any questions yet? I'm obviously happy to take questions at the end, but if you have any now, feel free to share them. Or along the way, absolutely happy to take questions. And then I think this is recorded, so I'll pop on to the YouTube comments as well. So if anybody's watching this, if there's any questions that people have, I can answer those in the comments too. Go on to the next slide, Amina. So, okay, here I am sitting here saying, you know, move more, and like, how does that feel is my first question. I'm here saying move more when you've been diagnosed with cancer. How would you respond to something like that? Like here, I'm saying what, you know, there's so many barriers when you experience cancer, and here's me, you know, coming along saying you must move. Hopefully not in that way, not in a judgmental way, but how does that make you feel? That's my first question out to you guys. Anybody can answer, pop it in the chat, leave your cameras off if you want to, but I'd just love to hear, how does that make you feel to hear someone say, you know, yes, you've got cancer, now move more. Now, that's a very, very good question. So I've got a slide in a bit, Mariam. Mariam just asked, does this apply to any type of cancer? There's so many studies out there that say if you have cancer, it would be really helpful, you know, in the broader sense of the word, it would be really helpful if you moved more, if you're physically active, if you exercise, if you increase your heart rate. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Yes, if you've just come out of an operation, just had a tumor removed, I'm not going to tell you to go, go and move more. There are situations where I would say, please don't do it. And, a healthcare professional can tell you that, a consultant or your nurse, your nurse, whoever it is, can tell you what you can and can't do if you're unsure about that. And so, yeah, it's a very, very good question. I'm not, post-operation, I'm not going to ask you to go and do like a walk around the garden or up the stairs and down the stairs 10 times, whatever that looks like. So, yeah, really good question, though, there.
So Nazmeen, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I remember somebody said to me, you need to exercise more. And at that time, I found it really patronizing, if I'm honest with you, because I felt like maybe that person was telling me that I had indirectly contributed to getting cancer. And I found it really upsetting. And it's only when I felt I had come to the end of my treatment, I could process it all, that I could think about, like, what does that really look like for me and what do I want to do?
That word is really important word to hear, patronizing. Some people, like, if it's not said in the right way, it can be so impactful. So it's really important to understand that as a healthcare professional, it would be really good for you to say, it would be really good to move more. Here's some evidence out there, and here's a support group that can do it with you, so that they know that you're not alone. And actually, yeah, it can be so patronizing for someone to just go move more, tick a box. And actually, when I was diagnosed, probably that wouldn't, those 10 minutes that you have with a consultant, the last thing you want to hear is move more. Maybe giving me a leaflet or a booklet or whatever would have helped me to process that afterwards. But yeah, in the right situation and with the right support, because people have said, you know, if you're asking me to move more, I want a community around me, I want positivity around me, and I don't want to feel alone in that moment. With the right support, it can be done. So I think that's really, really important. But I think you're right, patronizing is a good word to use with, you know, that kind of conversation coming up. So thank you.
Nazmi, we've got two hands up. One is Hina and the other is Safraz.
Safraz, I don't know who put it up first. Hina or Safraz?
It was Hina, but I think Hina's put her hand down now. Hina, did you want to ask your question?
Assalamu alaikum. Hi, Hina here. Yeah, I just wanted to respond really to the question. Yeah, I guess at the time when I was diagnosed, I was so overwhelmed. So to be told to move more is just not the right time. Gazillion things just go in your mind. And like I remember my cancer nurse, she said to me, which I found really useful, was she goes, listen to your body. She goes, if you need to rest, rest. If you want to move, move. I found that really effective for me. So, yeah.
That's a powerful statement. And there's only certain amounts of things that we hold in a traumatic time in those 10 minutes. That is trauma. That is, you know, that is a very scary space to be in, you know. And so it's important to reflect and to hear. If that was one of the key words taken away, I think those are really important ones to hear for other healthcare professionals to know, to say. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, really important ones to hear your body and listen to your body. Thank you.
And Saf?
Assalamu alaikum. I have not been personally diagnosed with cancer or anything, but I did support my father last year, and when I went to his diagnosis hearing, I suppose, they didn't mention anything about exercise at all. All they said was just carry on doing what you would normally do. But they didn't emphasize anything to do with any sort of more exercise. If anything, he said sort of take it a bit more easy because of the treatment. It was prostate cancer, and it was mostly, well, it was all radiotherapy. But he didn't. It's interesting because this is only last year, not even 12 months ago. The guy didn't mention anything at Mount Vernon. I don't know if you know Mount Vernon Hospital, which is sort of quite close to Watford. But they didn't mention anything about sort of doing more exercise or anything like that. So it's interesting that they didn't mention it really. But in my dad's case, he carried on as normal, but he actually decided that he was going to do even more in terms of his faith. So he was doing even more than what he does already, which is quite a lot. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you for sharing. And actually, we've got a live survey at the moment, and we've already had about 250 participants fill out that survey. And one of the questions we asked was were you asked, were you told about physical activity and the benefits at diagnosis or at any point? And many people out of those 250, I can't remember the exact, it was more than 50% said that they were not told. And you know, we'll talk a little bit about why it should have been said in a bit, but I think there's a couple of things in the chat as well. Thank you for that, Saf. That's really important to hear. And I think other people will probably have the same experience as he does. Was a rare one, I think, being told to move more. Is there anything in the chat that let me just have a quick read. I was talking about right if I had cancer free.
There's a question about where is it gone? Is there support available for over 30s who have had cancer?
That's a very good question. So if it's related to physical activity, then absolutely yes. We've got 126 support groups across the country. So if you go on our website, Move Against Cancer, type in your postcode, you'll find where your nearest one is. And yeah, those are increasing. Every month we set up 3 new 5KUA support groups, and those support groups come from the community. So we don't go, right, we're going to set up here at the moment. At the moment, people are coming to us and saying, we need this support group here and we want to set up. And so they fundraise for that. We support that in the short term and the long term as well. So I would definitely click on our postcode finder and you can find your nearest one. Good question. Okay, I'll carry on if that's okay. Can I go to, slide 12, please? Just after this one. Thank you. Okay, so here you can see, thank you so much for that. So here is a list of the benefits of physical activity for people with cancer. Now, like, there are some obvious ones in here. So it says here, reduces cancer-related fatigue. There are so many studies that now to evidence that actually moving more reduces your cancer-related fatigue. And one of the things that we say when we've got cancer, and I did say, and it impacted massively, was the fatigue. But I was, you know, from the research I saw, actually moving a bit more helps you sleep better, helps you then feel more invigorated afterwards, and it feels really opposite, but actually it's not. It reduces cancer-related fatigue, and we'll show you in a little bit some evidence quoted to show you a bit more about that. It boosts it, so there it links to your energy and it improves your quality of life off the back of it. I'll have a little look at the chat in a minute if there's any questions. It helps reduce stress, depression, anxiety. You know, movement, a bit more movement in any situation helps you in terms of your endorphins. So it reduces stress and anxiety and depression. So that's brilliant to hear. It builds your confidence, your self-esteem, especially when you're doing it with other people. But these three here are the ones, the next two are the ones that really bring it out for me. It reduces treatment side effects. So there's been a lot of evidence recently in the last couple of years that shows that people who haven't been physically active have had higher treatment side effects versus people who have been. And that's not like your one or two studies. There's a hell of a lot of evidence around that as well. And a massive one, especially for people like me who have a cancer that they need to live with, is that it reduces the risk of reoccurrence. And just this year, like, I've had a pretty tough time, you know, having finished chemo, immunotherapy 2 years ago. I thought, oof, I'm all right, you know, I'm moving more, I'm going to be okay. And this start of this year, my consultant said, I'm really sorry, Naz, it's coming back. And I said, you know, the bloods aren't great, but like, can we keep like a back on it? Can we meet again soon and think about treatment and give me a bit of time? And she did, you know. And absolutely, it's my own personal story, but 6 weeks, 12 weeks after, you know, I moved more, I kept moving, because I realized that I'd got complacent over the holidays and I thought, you know, it's over now. I can eat a packet of biscuits and sit on the sofa and, you know, watch TV as you do, you know, you get complacent. But actually hearing her say it's coming back, that was the thing that pushed me to get back on track with moving more, building up my heart rate. And I thought to myself, if nothing else, if I'm starting chemo again, then you know, my heart will be able to deal with more stress because I'm moving more and it's getting used to it, right? And so just literally a week ago, I had the best news, and she was like, I don't have to see you again for 3 months because everything is slowing down. And so, you know, we'll wait for the next load of treatment till you're feeling, you know, quite bad. And so that helped me, you know. That was really good space to be in. And yes, it is one story, but this is the example of what I'm saying, is in terms of risking, if it reduces the risk of reoccurrence. So these are big things for me to say, and there's lots of evidence that backs this. And then if you can go to slide 13, and then if anybody has any questions, we'll take questions. But so yes, there's lots and lots of evidence out there that says physical activity is important when you've got cancer. But this most recent piece of research is the one that you, if nothing else, should Google after this. In 2025, earlier this year, there was a whole big hoo-ha off the back of this bowel cancer study. It was done in the same way that a drug would be studied, right? Any drug trial, they did it in the same way, but linked to physical activity. It was done over 3 years with 889 patients. Half of them were given a program of physical activity, just 3 days a week, you know, minimal 20 minutes, 30 minutes of movement, and the other half were given none. And the difference over studying people over these 3 years was massive. So this is it. The cancer reoccurrence dropped versus the two groups by 28% for the ones that were moving, right? The risk of death dropped by 37%. That is massive. And I'm telling you that this is a cancer drug equivalent study. This isn't your general study that anybody can do. And the next one, you know, overall survival increased by 83% to 90% over 8 years for the trial group of the 400 people. 7% more lives were saved off the back of that exercise program for those 400 people. This is massive stuff. Any healthcare professional at the moment will look at this study and go, oh my gosh, because it is the kind of studies that healthcare professional and the medical field are looking at going, I understand it now. And if nothing else, you can share this with your healthcare professional so they can start talking about it, because this is the level of studies that they will stand up and use in MDT meetings, in healthcare professional meetings, you know, with their colleagues. So yes, this is absolutely important for me to tell you. You don't have to like root around anymore. This is the biggest year for us in terms of physical activity, and this study is a good one to read. It's on our evidence page on our website if you want to have a look at the links to find out a bit more about it. So I'll pause there for a second if anybody's got any questions. I can't see everybody's hands. I do.
Don't worry, Nazmeen, I'll say what the questions are. But, there is a question on the chat, but before I go to it, I had a question, which is, you know, this research that you've shared, it's consistent with my research when I was looking at this 13 years ago, and that's why, for me, it was so important. I do incorporate exercise. But why is, and it sort of ties into the sort of question that Saf had earlier on, why are the doctors and the NHS professionals not telling people about this? And are you at Move Against Cancer, are you working with the NHS professionals to educate them? And even if it doesn't do all of those things, if it improves people's health and well-being, surely that's a reason in itself.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, so last year in September, October time, we worked with the Nottingham Hospital to understand why this was happening. And a lot of the reasons that came through were confidence. You know, healthcare professionals didn't feel confident to be able to talk about the topic very well. They didn't know where to signpost. You know, you can, like your experience here, that they were telling people, oh, by the way, yes, you've got 10 minutes and I've told you this life-changing event, but you should move more. And they couldn't signpost to where, you know, where that support would go, like where they could go afterwards. So they could say move more, but if you're going to be told something so traumatic, and then you feel alone, you're relying on your family to support you, that's not enough. So they didn't have anywhere to signpost to. Confidence was a big thing, signposting was a big thing, and that 10-minute window, the most important things needed to be told in that 10 minutes, and not everything was going to be taken away. And so that wasn't helpful. So the part of our work then was to go, right, in the day units, how can we change, you know, the perception of physical activity in the day units? And we did a piece of work to try to understand what we can do in the day units in Nottingham in terms of people coming in for radiotherapy. So there's a lot of conversations we were having and support we were giving staff. Now this coming year, we are doing an enormous piece of work with healthcare professionals, because yes, we spent the last year and a half trialing this awareness raising on the ground. And if I'm honest, we've been focusing that awareness raising with community hub spaces, health hub spaces, trusted support networks that are out there for BAME communities to say, this is the benefit of physical activity, now go tell everybody. But we're doing that, we need to do that with healthcare professionals as well. We're very, very lucky that we have 600 volunteers that run all of our support groups across the country, and at least 200 of those are healthcare professionals. So next year we are piloting a piece of work where we're going to be working on resources and support for healthcare professionals, so they feel more confident about having that conversation at, you know, first point or second point or on the day unit to say you must be moving more and here's how. And obviously the support is there, it's hard to find. You can find it at a local level with Move Against Cancer, but there are other places that you can find that too. So I think that's really important to know.
Thank you, Nazmeen. I'm going to go to a question on the chat, and then I think Wasim had his hands up. I'll come to Wasim. Question on the chat is from Praveen. I've just been diagnosed with cancer for the 3rd time in 40 years, and although was told to keep doing exercise, it's very hard to find support for persons who are nearly 60, and particularly if they have disabilities as well.
I would say
any suggestions?
Yes, I would say that at the moment, the demographics of our 120 odd support groups are your older female, I would say, actually. And we are trying to change that. But that, you know, if it is an age thing, like that's something that's really important to think about. But also we are doing Move Your Way. I mean, we can't be everywhere, but we are doing something called Move Your Way sessions in the community. And if you're looking at our Leicester groups, again, the demographic is your older female, you know, South Asian women who are like, right, I want to move more, like, get me moving. What does that look like for me? This is what I want, get me moving. So people with cancer who are like, right, I want to do it. But also movement doesn't have to be a planned session or a support group that's focused on physical activity. It could be what you do at home, you know, as long as it's safe for you to do it. There are things that you could be doing at home. So pop on, it's a cliche, pop onto our website, but there's a section that we've got there called Just Starting Out. So someone who's diagnosed, who's been told, and is like, and you're like, what am I doing with this? Where do I even start? So there's a simple, short activities that you could be doing to be physically active that will help you to start by yourself. But remember, you can't do it just by yourself. You need to have those conversations with your family and your friends, you know, people you trust, who you know won't be judgmental, who you can do that with as well. And I know we don't always have those, especially because you know, traditionally, culturally, it can be quite sad for people to know you have cancer. And remember that, you know, 30 years ago, the outcomes for people with cancer were a lot worse than they are now. And we need to start seeing those happy stories, yes, but also, you know, because of trials and treatment, things are changing if we get diagnosed quickly, if we don't see it as a death sentence for ourselves. So yeah, so there's lots out there that we could be doing. But yeah, lots of stuff. And we'll do a bit of a chat on signposting, but it's a very, very good question. Is that Parveen that asked that? Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, really
and I think you're absolutely right. When I know from my experience, one of the reasons why I avoided exercise for such a long time was because I hated going to the gym. It just wasn't for me. Although that's something that most people like, but I just didn't like it. And it is about trying to find what you like. And I like being outdoors. So I'm happy to go out running or walking, whatever. But it took me a while to find what I actually enjoyed. And it doesn't matter, even if something, for example, local gym is not accessible, you can just go up and down the stairs. You know, sometimes people think that, you know, being active, there's a cost, is prohibitive. That's not necessarily the case. You just need to be a little bit more sort of lateral in your thinking and think about ways that you can even move within your own house, or just using equipment, you know, a bag of flour or something, bag of sugar in the house. Wasim, you had your hand up. Did you want to ask a question before we ask a question on the chat?
Sorry, no, I didn't want to ask. I just wanted to make a comment previously and answer a previous question about the NHS and why professionals aren't talking about it. I'm a GP in Birmingham, and things are changing now. So there's a new role that I've taken on, which is a physical activity clinical champion, and that's funded by the NHS. It's a pilot project. And it's in tandem with a national organisation called Moving Medicine and a consortium with the British Association of Sports and Exercise Medicine. And part of our role, as Nazmeen did mention, the professionals, we don't have the confidence to provide that. We don't have the time to provide that information. So part of this role is to try and encourage and give the confidence to healthcare professionals to provide that advice to patients around physical activity, but also signpost them locally to voluntary organizations and things. So things are changing, and I just wonder if maybe there's some link up work that could happen with some of the voluntary stuff that Move Against Cancer is doing as well, because it sounds like there's a bit of overlap there if you're also trying to educate healthcare professionals.
Absolutely.
There may be some overlap there that could potentially work.
That sounds brilliant. There's no point in reinventing the wheel, and also we're in Birmingham. We need to make this happen, and we know Moving Medicine well. So yeah, let's do that if that's okay, Zahida. Us trying to network here as well.
Absolutely, it's all for the good cause.
absolutely, and we'll bring what we learn back to this space as well. It's not about us going off and creating something separate to you guys. Let's link up and bring some of that learning back to here as well. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. I'm excited about that.
Thank you for the question, Dr. Waseem. The next question is from Hina. In regards to support, are there any exercise sessions available other than a run? As in, are there other exercises available to do as a group?
Yeah, there are. We've got some online workshops that you can just do at home by yourself. Obviously, you can find good ones out there. If it's safe for you to do so, feel free to do those workshops online. There are a range of like chair-based exercises, yoga, meditation, breathing as well. There's a Bollywood dancing workshop. There's strength training. I think different levels of strength training as well. There's workshops to combat fatigue. So there's lots on there that you could have access to. Other people do it as well, obviously, but and there might be something locally in your area if you're more interested in something face-to-face that is happening. Have a look out for that as well in your consultants' waiting area, for example, or the GPs. That there will be other options too, but I would have a look on the website if you're thinking of doing something at home by yourself. Obviously, make sure that it's safe to do so, but feel like there is stuff out there. But yeah, some of it's hidden away because a lot of people do it in little pockets in their local area, even if it goes online. And we do it across the board, across the country. A lot of the cancer alliances at the moment are building resources on their website in different regions. We're doing it nationally, but basically there is stuff that you can find out there that can help you. Does that answer that question for you?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you, Hina, and thank you, Nasmeen. There's one more question. I am supporting someone with cancer. Are there any places in Leicester that may help, bearing in mind other autoimmune conditions?
Yes, there is. Okay, Leicester has stuff going on at the moment. I don't know how far you'll be from some of the places. I wonder, could you connect to Zida? Or I can drop my email address here and we can talk about what's happening in Leicester, because if you're close enough, there's still a few sessions going on that are live as well. So yeah, there's one off the Belgrade Road. I can't remember the neighborhood centre's name that are happening at the moment. But again, like there's stuff happening that you could just get involved in right now if you wanted to. But we might have to just link up and talk. Yeah, Zahida's put her email address there. So if you just link in with her, I'll let you know. But yeah, there's a few sessions there that are still live, and feel free to join. Brilliant. Okay, so then we'll go on to slide 14, if that's okay, Amina. Thanks for being patient with us. So here I am saying, make sure you're being safe. Make sure you're being safe. I'm not a qualified healthcare professional in any form. Anyway, yes, I'm passionate about physical activity. Yes, I have a group of cancer rehab instructors that support our work. But I myself am not medically trained. I'm a passionate individual. I'm passionate about health inequalities. I've worked in the physical activity space and I've worked in communities. So I just want to make sure that you know that every person's cancer journey is different. Please don't go to your mum, your dad, your brother, your sister and go, you need to move more, you need to do it now. Everybody's journey is different. Cancer affects us physically, but also impacts our mental health, emotional health, our finances, our relationships, our employment, and saying let's be physically active. There are times when it's right to bring that up. There are times when it can be more overwhelming, especially not with the right support. And also people are going through, you'll hear this, living well with and beyond cancer is a big thing at the moment. It's not just about having cancer, it's people are living longer with it. And so, yeah, there are things that come with that. So the cancer-related fatigues for some people will not go, that's still going to be there. Perineal neuropathy, these kind of things are still going to be there that we need to be aware of. And as I joked about earlier, you could have had an operation as part of your treatment, and that's limited your movement anyway. Like these are all the things you need to consider when you're starting to move, and do speak to your healthcare professional. But honestly, I say for myself that just increasing your heart rate from where it would normally be. Like that little bit of movement for, you know, and that increasing of heart rate is going to be good enough for you, and do that for 20 minutes a day. And I think the national recommendation is 20 to 30 minutes a day over 7 days. So do that, and do it if you feel like your body can. Yeah, so should we go over to slide 15? I really want to ask this question. So we've talked about, it's interesting, a few people have said, you know, what movement can I do? What is there in a group space that I can do? But I'd be curious to know here if there is anything, again, in the chat, or people want to say, what does moving more look like for you? Like, what did it look like for you before cancer? But more importantly, what could it look like now, or does it look like now? And I just think that people get so many ideas from each other about movement. So I think it's a really important one to ask.
Hina?
Yeah, I guess after cancer, I saw moving more, such as like walking. I think walking is such a good like aerobic exercise because you're using your mind, you're looking and you're walking. I found that was quite great. And just like, I guess moving what I enjoy, so like cycling and running, swimming, which I think I'm never gonna do because it's too much for me. But yeah, so just moving and like running up and down the stairs, and just going outside. I find that that's moving for me. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And has there been anything that stopped you from doing those kind of things, like post cancer? Has anything got in the way of that? Out of curiosity, Nina? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't mind. I guess sometimes, like you said, I feel like sometimes cancer, it really affects you mentally. It's like a mental diagnosis as well, subhanAllah. So when I feel really overwhelmed, right? So sometimes you have like brains, like thunderstorms in your mind, and you just get so tired and you just don't want to do anything. So it really depends on my energy levels and if I can be bothered, basically, and how motivated I am. That's why I love this session, subhanAllah, like how you said, the benefits of it. It's always good to ask why. Another thing that might stop me is the cost. So, and also the weather. And plus I don't drive. So like swimming is something I really want to get into, but it's cold outside. It might cost quite a bit. And yeah, I'm just like, is it worth it? So yeah, and also I guess another thing, it's if I had someone to go with and who might have the same mindset as me, that would make it easier. So that's why the group sounds so beneficial to me.
Love that. Love that. Hina, if you're in Birmingham, I can't swim, so let's make that happen.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Thank you for sharing
in Birmingham, but I live in London, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah.
No, everybody just moves out. Is it Wasim? Was it? We're the only ones here. Thank you for sharing that. You know, that's really, really important to share. Sharing the fact that, you know, isolation impacts that. Mental health impacts how much you move. Doing it with another person, you know, like I think that really does impact how much we do. And yes, the cold and the cost. It ultimately, you know, the cost, it hits you hard, doesn't it? And the good thing is that walking outdoors, it is low cost or no cost, depending on whether you want to have trainers or not. And you know, our support groups are linked to that, but there will be like active partnerships, and is it active leisure that might run stuff, or go through your GP and see if there's any support there. And there will be, you know, linked to social prescribers potentially, that there might be potential there as well. Yeah, there might be something locally to look at, but I don't know I don't know local pockets very well, but it's definitely something to explore, and keep doing the walking.
Thanks. I just want to add, like, what helped me before when I was motivated was putting I put it in the chat, but putting a treadmill in my shed. That was quite a good idea for me, because again, I was like, Zahida, I don't want to go to the gym, but just going to my shed was easier. So yeah.
Love that.
But anyway.
Love that. And one of the pictures that I share whenever I do a blog is of me with the backs of my children on a roundabout, like literally going to play with your children. If you've got kids, guys, like they move around so much, and if you can do half of what they can do, it's going to be a beautiful thing. But thank you, Hina, for sharing that. I've got
thank you. We've got Saf,
two hands up. You had two hands up a second ago. You got one now. Sorry, Saf. Did you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to add some really nice things that you've said there, Hina. I think the treadmill was a really good one, because that will, whether like what we've got now, nobody really wants to go out, and we've got bad weather coming for the next 4 months or whatever. But the treadmill, the beauty of that is you can access it anytime you want, and also, without going outside, but almost getting, if not more, miles done, because you just know that you're not going to get wet and all that sort of stuff. So that's a really good idea, and I think everyone should have a treadmill. And in terms of cost, you'll be surprised how many are on eBay that have been used for about 3 weeks. People buy them and they don't use them, and they're virtually brand new. So you can get some real good bargains out there. So they're not as expensive as buying a brand new one. Mine's secondhand, for example, when it's brand new, so it doesn't get used much. But that's another issue. Yeah,
we all want Saf's treadmill on Facebook. Sorry, bless you. Go on.
Yeah. So the other thing was, I think, company, if you can get someone to go with you, it makes all the difference. I mean, I do it cycling, and I'm always asking people to come and join me, and people are just so busy, and I do end up going a lot of the times on my own. But it's so much better if there's 2 or 3 of you. It kind of motivates both people, whether the other person's got a diagnosis or not. It probably doesn't matter, but if anything, it's really good if you can go in, just even if it's just 2 people. I think makes a massive difference, because it encourages both people to actually get out, do some exercise, and that can only do some good for everybody.
Love that. And I will add to what Saf said, sometimes treadmills can be expensive actually, but a dry robe, has anybody heard of a dry robe? Just get a really big coat and go with your aunties down the park and just do a long walk in a giant dry robe. Honestly, the world is changing. Dry robes are brilliant. This year I brought one for my 2 boys and my husband, so they couldn't have an excuse for the winter walks, because they will go, it's too cold or it's too wet. I'm like, right, this dry robe is waterproof and it's fluffy. What's your next excuse? Do you know what I mean? So a bit cheaper, probably can find them from Vinted. But yeah, definitely stuff to think about. And remember, being outdoors does help us, like, the fresh air, even when it's cold and wet, has helped. So yeah, if there's things that you can do like that, absolutely do.
And I invested in one, Nazmeen, this winter. It's a game changer, those dry robes. Absolutely brilliant. Dr. Vaseem's shared some tips on the chat. There are walk talk sessions, park runs. You can also walk on the sport whilst watching TV, for example. So no need for treadmills or walking pads if cost is an issue. And also virtual group walks with friends. During the COVID times, my friend Dalet and I, that's what we used to do. We used to both go out at the same time, and we'd be on the phone to each other, and before you knew it, you'd completed like an hour's walk.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Was there anything else in the chat as well before I go on?
I think that's it.
I mean, if it's okay, we'll skip to 18, slide 18, if that's okay. And we'll do this one really quickly. We've already talked about this. We've said about movement, going for a walk in the park, going with a friend, having some piece of equipment at home, but actually just walking up the stairs, going out to the garden, picking up some atta. We've got it in the house, we know we do. Like, all those kind of simple things are fine to do. Yeah, being active with friends is a bonus, being with family as well. Obviously, having a look at any online resources doesn't just have to be ours, but the other organizations will have online resources as well. So there's lots of potential there for you to do things that you wouldn't have necessarily thought to do. And then just to finish, if we go to slide 19, if that's okay, Amina. Yeah, any other questions, guys? I'll end there, and then I have a massive ask, is that we don't do a lot of training at the moment, we don't do a lot of presentations, but I really would like some feedback on how we could improve this, or what worked and what didn't. So if you guys, which I'm hoping you're doing behind your cameras, can just scan this QR code and fill out this really quick feedback form, I would absolutely appreciate that too, because just for my own learning, if nothing else, because I want to take away and improve too. So yeah, thank you for that. And one other thing, so Dr. Vaseem talked about it a little bit, but we've obviously got this live survey at the moment that Amina, I think you can drop the link to in the chat as well. So 2 asks from me, this feedback form, and we have a live survey at the moment that we put across to all of our groups and of all our networks about what kind of resources we as individuals are looking for to help us get moving more, and what that looks like. So, you know, some people have suggested, I've had a look at the interim survey responses, the 250. Some people have said podcasts, some people have said awareness raising sessions, some people have said online group sessions, some people have just said just come to our community and, you know, tell us a little bit more. There's been so many different ideas from people, and we just desperately want to hear yours. I want everybody's voices to be represented in this. Right, I don't just want it to be 1 or 2 voices, and so if you know if we can get your perspective, that would be absolutely amazing. And I imagine Moving Medicine have done similar pockets of work like this, but yeah, I think it's absolutely important for us to be like listening and going, this is what resources for movement look like, and then hopefully we can put a package together and then go to healthcare professionals, here you go, and then say to the community, here you go, this is here for you. But yeah, so 2 asks from me, this feedback form, and then Amna, if you could drop that link in the chat, that would be absolutely amazing.
Any more questions? Alia says, I just had a thought, it would be good to those who are doing this, especially during their treatment period, to share this and the difference it's making for them with others who are going through their treatment period. It could nip it in the bud when it's needed the most.
Absolutely, honestly, and you know, maybe the first 10 minutes is not the right time, but you know, in a booklet with a leaflet with a QR code, here you go, this is what you could do next, or at the day centre, or you know, with your specialist nurse, that there are ways. We need to be getting to everybody that we have contact with at first, second, third appointment, you know, treatment time. So and after, not, you know, if the right time is, you know, when you've just had your 4th chemo session, you're just finishing and winding down, and they're saying what next. So yeah, it needs to happen at the right time, but it absolutely does need to happen. Thank you, Amna. I mean, it's just dropped the Survey Monkey link there as well. I've asked a lot of you already, and we're 9 o'clock on the dot.
Please do complete it. It really does help inform services that Move Against Cancer are providing, and they're doing such an important job. And everything that you take away from today, it doesn't just apply to cancer, it applies to general health and well-being and other conditions which are so rife in our communities as well. And I just wanted to, I'll pass it over to you, Yasmin, in a bit, just to share any sort of closing remarks. But the 3 things that I want to share with you from my cancer journey is pick what works for you, firstly, and what works for others may not work for you. So find something that, you know, works for you and you enjoy doing. That's really, really important. And the other thing about enjoyment, I've learned that sometimes enjoyment comes after repeated exposure to something. I never used to like running. It took me a very long time to start enjoying it, and the same with walking. So do persevere. Cost doesn't have to always be prohibitive. You can do something in the house, as Dr. Basim said, you know, walk in the house, go up and down the stairs if mobility allows, going up and down from the chair. You know, I did that once, and I was like amazed at how difficult that was, sitting up, getting up, going back down again. But it's a really good form of exercise. And the last thing I just want to share is start small, build up to it, and be consistent in what you do, and slowly build up to incorporating this on a daily basis or weekly basis. Sister Nazmin, did you have any passing comments?
I echo that. I absolutely echo that. I think, like, if there is stuff that you're doing that is challenging in terms of movement, or you succeeded, drop it into the comments on the YouTube chat or within your own spaces, because we'd love to hear about them. And, you know, if there are setbacks, we'll hear about them. And if you're watching this as a video, you know, feel free to go through the discussions that we went through, answer those and drop them in there as well. And if there's any questions for me, I'll answer those too. But yeah, absolutely echo exactly what Zahid has just said, which is start small, try out the local walking groups or the 5K UA support groups, or whatever the offer is locally, or just take your friend or your cousin, family member, husband, the kids, and do something with them, because I think it's small, but it's a lifetime change that we're trying to make, and you will have setbacks, and you can't just do it from trying something completely new, because technically, doing that by yourself, you're more likely to stop than if you've got like a whole family or a friendship group trying to support you through that, or us, drop in those chats, and we will have a chat about those as well.
Thank you so much. And Dalit has also shared some tips in the chat box. Please do read those. I just want to say thank you so much, Nazmeen. I know this is something that people who've been diagnosed with cancer don't like to hear, but I'm going to say it because honestly, I think it's so inspirational to use something that you have gone through for the benefit of others. It's really humbling and it's very inspiring. And thank you so much for coming today and talking about your experiences and giving such useful tips to others. I'm sure people on the session today will go away with some food for thought and thinking about how they can incorporate changes in their life for their betterment. So thank you so much. And I just wanted to end with a short dua prayer, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts any goodness that comes from the session today. Whatever benefit comes from it is directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, and any mistakes or shortcomings are from us. Ya Allah, please bless and reward for everyone who has contributed, attended, organised, supported in any way, especially Sister Nazmeen and everyone at Safina, including Sister Amina, who's been dealing with all the logistics behind the scenes. Ya Allah, grant us sincerity, accept our efforts, and allow us to continue beyond this gathering. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much to everyone for attending.